Welcome to another episode of Customer Success Talks, Real Challenges, Experts Advice. Today's topic is the evolution of a customer success manager from old mindset to a new mindset. Yes, there have been changes over time. Although this is a new role, a new career, and we are growing a lot, there has been some changes over time. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And before we go into introducing our amazing guest that I'm pretty sure you have seen his memes around in LinkedIn. Nav, have you seen that change? Because you have around 13, 15 years of experience. Have you seen a change in mindsets?
I've seen a massive shift, especially over the last 2 to 3 years, with the way that the economy is sort of going currently. There's been a shift in sort of external factors outside of the business as well, around how venture capitalists are investing in businesses and where sustainable growth needs to actually drive long-term growth. And customer success is becoming the forefront for that to try and get the expansion of growth from existing customers and pivoting the sales teams to become more of a land and expand sort of approach to try and get as many through the door and then have the CSMs grow that revenue. So the way that I see it is that the mindset of the broader industry has changed. We need to just make sure that the CS functions within organizations are also following that mindset as well.
Amazing. Yeah, definitely. And it's something new, like you said, 2-3 years ago. But let's go and let's start introducing our guest today so that way he can jump and be part of this amazing conversation. Our guest today is the CEO of Remark-able Consulting. You might, like I said, you might come across his LinkedIn post where he offers a lot of valuable insights about customer success, but it's not only about customer success that he posts about. It's about customer experience, it's about leadership and more. So it's a broad topic here. Our guest today also offers a newsletter. In my case, I receive a newsletter each week with a main topic, and then it goes directly into that topic with a lot of amazing insights. He offers a list of memberships as well, which our guest will talk about it in a couple of minutes. If you hear Lord of Customer Success means, do you know who I'm talking about? Probably you do. It's Markus Rentsch. Markus, thank you so much for being here with us today. It's an honor to have you.
Thanks for the introduction. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, amazing. Yeah, we are super happy to have you here. And I do have to share your memes with our audience. If you are on Spotify, you can always go to YouTube and you can see the screen sharing here, because these memes, it's not only about what you see here. It's not only about the fun part, but it's also about the valuable insights that Markus provides in each post. If we go to more, there's a really clear post of what is the meme about. So I really love, my favorite one is this one, life of as a customer success manager. I'm pretty sure you feel like that sometimes.
Yeah, that definitely was back when I was an individual contributor as a CSM. That's exactly how it felt.
Well, there's another one. Wait, I need to do this again. Sorry, it's a second. There are just too many. They're so fun. But like I said, oh, this one, customer onboarding at SaaS companies.
Yeah, that's so true. So true.
Markus,
Amazing.
can you tell us a little bit about Remark-able Consulting? What do you offer, and also the subscription membership program that you have?
Yeah, sure. I started Remark-able roughly. I started Remark-able already 6 years ago, but it wasn't until fall 2020 when I pivoted into customer success. So before I was helping tech companies with their positioning, but one day one of my clients asked the million-dollar question and asked and how can we make sure that customers are always getting what we're promising? This question that got me thinking. That's when I discovered something called customer success. And I quickly fell in love with the topic, and pivoted my whole company and my services into customer success. And since the past 3 years, I've started to create a lot of content and started lots of initiatives to really move customer success forward. And here we are already for today's topic. So what I feel is that customer success really needs to be reinvented. I don't feel that it just needs to make a few adjustments here and there to prepare for the new world, or to prepare what Naf mentioned before, so the shift that happened 2-3 years ago. So what I see now for customer success on the horizon, or it's already here for many companies, is that you need to really carry the company. You need to carry the company revenue-wise.
Yeah, agreed. I guess that's a good time to jump into our challenge. So, obviously we're talking about the CSM mindset shift today. And, if you sort of look at where customer success came from, and in fact, a lot of the traditional CSMs and the way that they operate, and even the functions that are built around the idea, it focuses a lot on quick fixes and firefighting. And I think, a lot of the reason for that is because companies, when they start the CS functions, is because they have a problem to solve, and the problem is there's a retention problem, and so then it becomes all about trying to fix that problem. When we look at that as sort of like the old way of doing customer success, and playing that defensively, and focusing on like that reactive task. Now, how do you see the mindset sort of shift towards it being more strategic and delivering that kind of value that they expected to be delivering with each interaction, sort of in like the new way of doing customer success going forward?
So what I see is that there is the need for a mindset shift, but the shift itself, I feel it's not already here. So what I wanted to point out before is that now not only your business is different, but also your customers. So especially in the SaaS industry, it's custom that most of your companies are the SaaS companies. So they are also seeing the shift, and the shift is that they're no longer able to really acquire free cash and are able to burn 100 million in 4 years. That's no longer possible, or at least for most companies. So now they have to grow efficiently. And we can look at all the research that has been ever done in the SaaS industry and space, and we will see that growing from your existing customers is way more efficient than acquiring new customers.
Yeah. And do you think that's a problem with the way that is it a CSM problem, or is it the sort of like the strategy problem from a leadership perspective? Or do you see that as both? Like, is there changes that need to happen on both sides?
I feel it's even more kind of a society problem.
Oh wow! Yeah,
for
fair
the
enough.
past decade,
Yeah,
people have been conditioned and indoctrinated to really chase that kind of instant gratification and super fast growth. So the people who want to build a long-term sustainable business, I feel that there are a minority. So that most founders, they really are in for the game to really make that kind of, to build a unicorn and go for a fast exit. So I feel like that's
the easy way.
Quite too often.
That's a very good point. Yeah, I've seen that happen far too often as well, where the main point is to get to that exit, and then they don't really care what happens at that point.
Exactly. So you're selling the company, and someone else has to care about making it profitable.
Yeah.
But that's no longer possible, at least in most cases. So now the company itself needs to focus on profitable growth.
Interesting.
And profitable growth comes from existing customer base, and that ultimately puts customer success managers and customer success teams, I wouldn't say in charge of doing it, but they play the biggest role. But I see customer success as a company-wide mindset and operating system, because customer success managers, they are not magicians. So if you don't have the right product to work with and the right customers to work with, you will fail. You can be the best customer success manager in the world, but if you don't have the right ingredients, it doesn't work.
Yeah. And it's a whole, like you said, it's a whole mindset, it's a whole culture as well. And keeping a customer is not, it's not also cheaper, but it also produces a long-term win for both sides. The customer, make it easy for the customers to stay longer with us versus just leaving and then have to find another company, then go through that onboarding process, and also bringing new customers to the company as well. So it is indeed customer success a big value that brings to the customer, to the company that we're working with. What
Yeah,
has
the data is pretty clear about it, but the major part for the customer success managers and teams is to really focus on playing a different role.
Yeah.
So before, customer success teams were more like acting as lifeguards. So they were basically monitoring customer product usage, collecting NPS scores, monitoring health scores and stuff like this. But now they have to become really coaches for their customers. Because I've mentioned before, your customers too, they can no longer spend money like crazy. So they are going to consolidate their tech stack, and they will only continue to pay for the tools that are really important and the tools that generate ROI.
Yeah.
That means as a customer success manager, you need to be able to help your customers create that ROI, to really make it tangible and so that your customers, your champions, are really able to even internally demonstrate value to the CFO, who is most likely in charge of all the expenses.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to justify why are you using the product, what are we paying for the product, and what that we get out. So the role from the customer success manager changes from being a lifeguard or a last line of defense to being a coach. So you could say, like, the customer is the raw diamond and you're the coach, and it's your mission to take them to the Olympic gold medal. Yeah. That's the right mindset I feel that customer success managers need to build today. And it's quite difficult because it's something completely different than from what has been sufficient in the past.
True. And it's interesting. I have seen the new way of doing things. I'm seeing more the proactive side. I have seen in books and hearing people about the old mindset. So it's interesting for me as well to listen to the old way and comparing it to the new way. But also over time, because like we said before, it was more transactional, even regarding the engagement, right? Like it was more transactional engagement, but now it's a more proactive engagement, aiming to relationship building and aligning the service or the product that we have with the customer goals and needs. So I want to ask you, Markus, how has the customer success engagement with customers have changed over time?
So I feel that customer success managers, that say again that the coaching mindset is need to be in charge. So they need to lead customers to success. So no long enough to enable customer success, but to ensure that they will see success. So you could basically see it like taking your customers by the hand and then really walk them through the finishing line.
Right. It's actually funny that you mentioned that, because I was looking at how one of my teams at another company I worked at does business reviews with customers, and we sort of reinvented it a little bit to say, what we need to do is start to plan what success looks like for them. And they came back and said, well, we asked the executive what they want to achieve, and they say, well, we don't really know. And so then they move on. And I'm like, well, that's your opportunity then, isn't it? To tell them, tell them what they should be thinking about. Take them on the journey. They're not thinking about that, but there's so much value they could be getting if you take them on that journey and show them what that could be. Instead of just asking, they say, no, we have no idea. And then you just move on, right? And so, like the proactiveness of building not just, I guess, value as is of what the product is, giving to that customer, but what value could, to be is based off of what, that customer maturity journey could be for that customer and what sort of value they could be getting in the long term, and getting them to see it from that perspective, building out success criteria that they never even thought about even thinking, of measuring.
Indeed.
Yeah, true. I also see that it's a great opportunity if your customers don't exactly know what they want to get out, because you can move them into the direction you would like them to move.
Exactly.
So also in customer success, we're also talking about becoming trusted advisors to customers all the time. And that's one way to really help customers find out, okay, what is it that we want to accomplish?
Actually, this term about trusted advisor, is that something from the new era?
It's just the way you interpret it is different since back then versus now.
Doing it is different than saying it.
Yeah, exactly.
It has become a buzzword, and I mean, everybody talked about it, but now you have to do it. Now you have to become that kind of trust advisor, because it's easy to say, yeah, we want to become trust advisors for our customers, but that's something you have to earn. And it's not earned by monitoring customer progress and checking in once in a while. That's not how it works.
Love that. It's not just by having a role that says customer success manager. By default, you are a trusted advisor. You have to earn that. That's amazing. True.
Exactly. And the customer success manager role, I mean, there are a million different interpretations of it, and I have seen customer success managers that were essentially working in support like 90% of the time. And yeah, that also needs to shift completely. But I don't know if it's going around, but there are even companies that are hiring customer success managers on paper, but the job ad really describes a customer support role.
The way that I see it, I guess, is, the mind shift really works. The mindset shift only really works if we measure what we want to sort of manage. Then if we manage what we measure, then we can actually change that mindset. And sort of like the way of doing CES, when it comes to metrics, was aiming at sort of looking at usage and internal criteria. And while that's still important, of course, because we want to make sure that usage is a certain level and all that stuff. One thing I guess we potentially haven't been looking at in the industry is looking at the customer's needs and outcomes and results. So from your perspective, I guess how has that changed over time?
Yeah, so as I've mentioned, monitoring product usage is important, but it can only give you a limited amount of information. So if you see a customer, is not using the product, it's certain that the customer will not be successful. And the same is true for a customer that is rarely using the product. So there has to be some minimum level of activity to even have a shot at becoming successful. But beyond that point, everything is guesswork. So you can have a customer that is using a product 24/7, but still not seeing success, because they are only that kind of active because they're trying to become successful, but it doesn't work out. So today it's essential to really measure customer success the way your customers do it. So your customers, it depends on the product you're selling. Your customers buy the product because they want to increase their revenue, reduce costs, or hire faster, improve their productivity, build a social media brand, whatever. And you need to measure how your product contributes to it. Because it's simple. Based on these metrics, your customers will evaluate the ROI they get from your product.
Right.
So we need to make that mind shift from that inside out point of view from the past to really focus on the customer and build everything, all the activities and processes around the customers and the desired outcomes.
I think you're absolutely right. And if you sort of look at some of the more successful CSMs and sort of the new ways of working, especially the more proactive approaches, I think that there are two sort of basic things they can understand, right? One is what is your competitive advantage as a product in the market, and what is that sort of additional value that you provide, and what is it that are the challenges in the industry that you play in that you actually need to try and solve with what you've got in your product. And you try to connect those two into a story for any executive to get behind, and then suddenly you've got a very proactive plan going forward. And that's very simplified. Obviously there's a lot of work that goes into understanding those two pieces, but the difference between a strategic CSM and sort of like an entry-level CSM is the ability to connect those dots and being able to drive that level of strategic value long-term for a customer versus talking about how good things are right now for them.
And at the end, customers, like Markus said, customer measure us like we measure them, and they do through data. And actually, if we place ourselves into the customer shoes and we step out of the customer success shoes, what metrics do you think that they use to measure us as a vendor or partnership? Or that depends, that changes over time?
Yeah, it changes over time, but that's not the important part. So the important part is that we are really aligned with what customers are looking for, because they are calling the shots. It's really simple. The buyers are in charge today. They can choose between dozens or even hundreds of different products, and they are gone in an instant if we are not able to provide them with sufficient value. So they are. That's also something that is part of that mind shift. We need to understand, okay, it's convenient to measure customer success with all this fancy metrics and NPS and CSAT and CS scores and all that kind of stuff. But it's simply not accurate enough, because it's not a reflection between customer value and these ratings.
Yeah.
There is simply not a strong enough correlation. And that's the problem. That's what too many companies are overlooking, or too many customer success teams. So we really need to, that's what I meant before, we really need to reinvent customer success away from that inside out point of view that was really focused on building processes and then building everything on technology and then trying to scale everything. Whether it can be scaled or it's not possible. And really to focus, okay, what is customer value and how can we best help customers to get it? And based on that kind of that goal and that information we have, build up our processes, activities, and also integrate our tech stack. So what I'm now seeing is all that hype about artificial intelligence, but it's only here to support you. It can't fix broken processes.
Yeah. Actually, that was a question that I was about to ask about, like how not only AI but also automation in general has helped in shifting a new mindset, because 5, maybe 10 years ago, not only customer success was not what it is right now, but also the tools were not as advanced as they are now. I don't know, Markus, Nav, have you seen that has helped shifting more into a new proactive mindset?
I'd say, I mean, if you're comparing 5 to 10 years ago, there was almost no tooling available for customer success, right? I mean, you'd have to leverage Salesforce and, and the sort of things like, in fact, when you look at the way customer success was even started in a lot of organizations, it was by taking the farming part of account management and putting it into its own function, because they wanted that, sales team to focus on new business and hunting, and farming was given. But the part of account management that's farming is by design reactive. So account managers don't really tend to work with existing customers unless something goes wrong. So you take that and you lift and shift it with the same tools around it. It is by design reactive, right? So I think with tooling, it has given us the right tools to be more proactive. But I think, back to Marcus's point, right? It's not just about the tools. Like you can't just, plug in a shiny new customer success platform into your business and suddenly everyone becomes proactive. You have to build the foundational processes to be able to actually make it more proactive. And that, I think, is, I'd even go as far as saying, like build that first, and then think about what, platforms and tools and things you can fit on top of that to really drive the level of success you want to see. What are your thoughts?
Exactly. That's how it should be done. What I've seen is that many companies are doing the opposite.
Yeah.
The tech first, and then see what kind of initiatives and then processes can they build around it.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy. I talked to a company a few months ago, that really big company with tons of money to spend, has one CSM, hasn't really figured out what their customer health scoring process is, what variables they need to take a look at, what data they have available, but they wanted to buy and implement Gainsight. I'm like, what are you going to do with Gainsight? It's going to take you 6 months to implement that if you had all of this stuff, figured out. If you don't have any of this figured out, it's going to take you 2 years to actually get any value out of this. Crazy.
Wow. Interesting. It's a lot of planning, going step by step, not just having success when you open your eyes and success is there. But the second challenge that we're gonna talk about today is actually alignment of leadership. Leadership plays a big role in an organization. And customer success leadership needs to focus, I will say, on my opinion, into making sure that their customer success managers are using the right practices, the best practices for grabbing their customer success, their customers' hand, and taking them to where the customer needs. Because we are the trusted advisors, and that's something that we have earned already with the customer, at least ideally. Leadership might still hold the old mindset instead of the new mindset, just because there are leaderships out there with 10 years of experience, and it might be hard to be updated with things. And that's something that we're going to hear about now in a couple of minutes. But when it comes to strategies, approaches to align between customer success, new mindset, and leadership, what approaches, Markus, would you recommend a customer success manager listening to us right now or seeing us to try to apply into their leadership?
So that the language that your leadership is understanding is revenue. That's what it's all about, revenue and profit. So if you're a customer success manager or a customer success leader and want to get the buy-in from the senior leadership, providing them with revenue data is the most effective way to get it. And what I'm talking about is you need to show them, okay, if you don't have the alignment created in the company, not the buy-in, which is the case in most companies, then you need to constantly point out what the company is losing because of it. So what are you losing because of churn that is avoidable? Due to bad fit customer, acquiring bad fit customers, non-resolved product issues. So there are still many leaders that think customer success teams are solely responsible for churn. And so that they can fix everything, and if they can't fix it, it's all their fault. But of course, there are more churn reasons.
That's definitely a meme.
More sources of churn.
There's a good meme. Yeah, that's a good meme idea.
Yeah, go for it, Markus.
And that's one part. So how much revenue are we losing because the company is not aligned on customer success? Because everybody's working in silos, because customer information doesn't flow through all the teams. That's one point. Another point is, okay, how much opportunities are we actually losing because we are working with bad fit customers, because the company is focused on acquiring everybody with a pulse. There's been done some research in the past that shows that bad fit customers are like 10 times more expensive than your top customers.
100%, yeah.
And so they are costing more to maintain, and most likely will churn in the end anyways. But what's even more juicy is all that revenue you're losing because of it. So because you could work with 10 great customers instead of one bad fit customer. And if you work with 10 great customers that have high success potential and also growth potential, you're missing out on all the expansion and upselling opportunities. And that's really massive. It's of course harder to quantify, but it's no match to what you're losing to churn, and no match to what you're wasting on costs on bad fit customers.
Yeah.
So I feel that don't have exact numbers, but I feel it's like up to 90% of revenue you're leaving on the table.
It's a lot.
Sitting on a customer portfolio that consists of, I don't know, 50% bad fit or mediocre fit customers.
The importance of having the right customer.
Exactly. Because if you have the right customer, you can acquire a customer once, but in the long term, you can grow them to 5 times, 10 times the initial size. And that doesn't even include all the PR you're getting from those customers, all the new acquisitions from referrals you can also drive from these.
Yeah, I think this isn't talked about enough. The idea of good churn, because churn always seems like such a bad thing, but the amount of time and energy spent on some customers that you could be spending anywhere else that would give you all these amazing things like you mentioned, right? You can get, case studies, customer references, events, the kind of co-run events, so many things, expansion opportunities are given. But yeah, instead we spend so much time on like that one big deal that, we signed that we should never have signed.
Yeah. So my advice would be to create customer stories with data, to have really one bad fit customer, one churn customer, and one of the top customers, and really show your leadership how they compare. So how much money you're spending on those, and what's the result of it. And to really show the gap between the profit and growth you create from having top customers to what you're losing from having these bad fit customers.
Yeah, amazing.
Really open your leadership's eyes, and really, because one really important part of customer success is simply to acquire the right customers.
Yeah.
But few companies are really doing it. So they are setting the sales quota that is like, I don't know, astronomical. And the only way to achieve that quota is for really to close every deal possible. Even if you feel like, okay, people in sales are not stupid. They of course know, okay, that is not the right fit customer.
Yeah.
They will most likely churn in the future, but they have to achieve their quarterly quota. Mm-hmm. So they are basically forced into acquiring these customers. Yes. That's also something. Also, the mindset we focus on quarterly goals. It really hurts companies.
That's so true.
And yeah, the end of the year is close, and we will see it possibly on a new level this year, because times have become harder, and I really I really feel that this year salespeople will be pushing nonstop, and SDRs will practice spraying and praying more than ever.
Yeah.
And I will also feel that it will continue the next year. But really, companies need to get away from that addiction to new business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Chasing that kind of instant gratification, short-term revenue, because it costs them the long-term success.
Exactly. And that's what it makes a good company different from the best company.
Exactly. If you have a customer that costs more to acquire than they are ever paying back, you're losing money. It's as simple as that. It's simple math.
Yeah. This is why I like the shift in the venture capital market around it's not just only about 40% year-on-year growth from a revenue perspective. It's more so like, where is your sustainable growth? What's your burn rates? I like the fact that VCs are actually looking at burn rate. This is the reason why so many vendors have had to switch their mentality a little bit to, well, actually, maybe we need to figure out what our customer success strategy is.
Naf, I'm curious, how do you as a leader keep yourself with the new mindset and the new best practices? How do you keep yourself in a way that your team are actually having this mindset?
It's like I said before, right? I'll say it 100 times again. This, you manage what you measure, right? So when you measure the right things and you incentivize the right things, you can drive any behavior you want in the business, right? And expecting, for me to sit here and expect my CSMs to get behind what I want to see out of them, just based off of my experience, it's not going to happen, right? The difference between a good CS team and a great CS team has always been how they're incentivized to actually hit specific types of goals. So, for example, my CS team right now, they're incentivized on total contract value, right? So what total contract value does for us is they will look at every single opportunity throughout the entire contract term to try and find additional value for the customer. That means more expansion for us. And they will do everything they can to get them on a 3-year contract, right? So you can't just pick up the phone and call a customer the day before the renewal and say, do you want a 3-year contract, right? It is a process to get to there, right? And so you get the lagging indicator of well, this is the TCV goal, and then you put in leading indicators of this is how many business reviews we expect you to do, this is how many partnership, expansion opportunities we expect in a month, and that increases stickiness over time, and then that makes it easier for them to get those 3-year contracts. The way that I've seen in the past is that you give them just a retention number, and you say go, right, and you think like, well, the reality is like they won't know if they're going to hit that goal or not until pretty much the last day of the year. And so what are they actually supposed to do throughout the year, right? So it's always about what you measure is what you can manage.
Yeah, love that. What you measure is what you can manage. This is something that we talk about in the episode of compensation in customer success.
I think I've said that term in at least 3 different podcasts and during the CES festival about a month ago. I will never stop saying that. Like this is one of the things that always I find funny when I talk to CES leaders is that like why is my CS team not doing this? And I'm like, well, are you incentivizing them to do it? If you're not incentivizing them to do it, then why are they going to suddenly think, oh, like this is what I should do, right? Yeah. You have to create an environment for that to actually happen.
Love that.
I would also like to add some more to what Naf just said. What I often hear is that from customer success managers is that they are afraid to become too commercial.
Yeah, the age-old problem.
But they don't want to sell expansion or even create demand from customers. But the reality is, especially in the era right now, the only way to create more revenue is to deliver more value first. Because if you don't deliver value, no customer will buy more from you. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I guess CS qualified opportunity is 3 times more likely to close than the sales qualified opportunity. And the idea that you like, it's not like you're cold calling, and trying to sell something. It's a very different approach. Like if you do your core work, then you will get the expansion opportunities. I've also had CSMs come to me and say, why don't we get the same glory as the sales team does? And I'm like, well, if you really want the same sort of glory, you need to, feed into the number 1 metric that the company cares about, which is revenue growth. And I know that retention helps with that, but if you can't get the glory and then say you don't want to do expansion and be too commercial, you can't have your cake and eat it too.
That's something that keeps me wondering, that there seemed to be a disconnection between in the understanding that there is a connection between value and revenue.
Yeah.
That's been super scary to me. I mean, I have encountered it so many times.
Yeah.
But it's basic logic. I mean, we only need to think about ourselves. When do we buy more from something or do more? When we have a proof of value. So if you're going to a restaurant and you absolutely love the food, what will you do in the future? We'll go to the restaurant and eat there more often. But not if you don't like the food.
Yep.
In fact, if I really like the food, I might even get dessert even if I'm full. When I might not have the foods, not so good foods.
Yep. Wow.
This sounds value first, and the revenue is the consequence of delivering.
The revenue just comes. Exactly.
Yeah.
This is where it goes back to what your point is, right? The whole sort of crux of the point is the proactive strategic approach for CSMs. It's what will drive long-term growth, in the new world of CS, as opposed to back in the day when it was just a reactive approach of where's the fire, let me go put it out.
Yeah, this sounds like definitely a whole new episode that could be recorded between value versus revenue, because that's true. When the revenue is the positive reaction of the whole work of value that you did before. That's totally true. But it's time to start wrapping up. Although I see both of you, like you still want to throw things out there and you want to teach people listening and seeing us, it's time to wrap up, because we are aiming to give tools, and then hopefully people will go out there and implement them. And that was it for today's episode, which is the evolution of a customer success manager from the old mindset to the new mindset. And my question for you listening to this is, in which mindset are you in? Markus, thank you so much for your time. Naf, thank you so much for being here with us. And
thanks, Markus. Thanks, Baron.
Thanks, you.
And remember, keep learning, keep growing, and let's keep improving the world of customer success. Until next time.